welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how to use VLOOKUP in Excel. VLOOKUP is simply vertical lookup in Excel, and it is used to search for a value in a table or range by row, and it takes 4 arguments or piece of information, right? Alright, so we have this health data here where you have the patient identifier or the patient ID, and then the TB lab result, their HIV test result, and in the second table we have the patient identifier with the HIV test result and the date they were tested. So perhaps you want to pick the HIV test result of each of the patients to be side by side with their TB lab result, so that you know those maybe who tested for TB and at the same time positive for HIV finally, or maybe those who are TB negative but are not HIV positive or are HIV positive, depending on what you are looking for. But typing out these results that you already have here for these same clients, that these same patients that you have here, one after the other, manually is going to take you a whole lot of time. Even copying them and pasting, being sure that okay, this 022, you look for 022 here and you paste it here, it's going to take you a whole lot of time. So with VLOOKUP you can easily automate your process. So let's get straight to that, how to go about that. So here I'm going to say equal to VLOOKUP. I press my tab key. Alright, alternatively you can, after doing that, you can click on this so as to guide you with the arguments that you have. The first argument will be the lookup value, the table array, the column index number, and the range lookup. Alright, okay, so what we have here is that VLOOKUP and what value you are looking up. It is this patient identifier that we are looking up, right? And where are we going to look it up? That's the second argument, the table array, where we are looking it up. Which table? We are looking it up from this table, right? And the array here is from G1 to I41. That's where we are looking it up, right? I'm going to put a comma. All right, so the next thing to do here is to, which is the next argument, is the column index number. The column index number for the table array, not for this very table, it is for this very one. The table array you have selected is 2, right? I'm going to put 2 here. Why am I putting 2? Because I'm interested in getting the HIV test result, which happens to be in column 2 of this very table, right? And I'm going to put a comma here, and then that takes us to the next argument, which is the range lookup. And the range lookup is in a square bracket, which tells you that you have options, right? So, and the first option here is true and the second option is false. When you select true, that means you want to just get an approximate match, and when you are selecting false, you want to get an exact match. Of course, things relating to, for instance, HIV test is an exact match, exact test result of the very person that you want to give to them, not an approximate result, right? So I'm going to select false. Also note that you can use 0 for false and then 1 for true. Okay, so I double click on this and I'm going to close this and I'm going to enter this. Please also take note that the column of your table array which you selected, your lookup value should be at the leftmost column of that table array. That means our patient identifier here, which is what we are looking up for, is at the leftmost column of this very table here, right? So with this, you're going to double click on this, and if you don't have this table here to be the leftmost column, you're going to have an error. So over here you can see that we have some errors here, not because of this, not because of this, but because of other things, right? And that takes us to relative reference. When you click over here at the formula, you observe that the formula is able to pick up all the rows, but did not pick up these very rows that you are seeing here. It did not pick them up for us. So in this case, you are going to make the reference to fix this, one of the approach to fix this is to make the reference, the relative reference, to be what? To be absolute. And how do you do that? By inserting a $sign before the row and before the column and the column number, right? And the row, sorry, before the column and the row number here, right? Or you can simply highlight this and you press F4. You know that once you press F4, it's going to do same thing for you. So I'm going to just add this over here. So I haven't done that. I'm going to click on enter. Oops. So we should be doing that for the very first one here. Let's do that for this here and this here, and equally do that for this very first one, so that the essence of doing that is so that we can populate downwards. So when you do that, you can see that that is fixed, right? So another way to fix the error is to just simply come over here, and then you try and you erase this, and you just simply highlight it this way, and you move your cursor to this point, right? Observe that when you scroll down, the selection went down even to blanks, right? To blank pages, to blank rows and column. So I'm just going to click on enter, and I'm going to populate that. You can see that it worked fine as well. So another way to fix that form of error when you have this type of error is to come over here. Just come here first. Okay, let's do this first. You're going to come here and you insert table, right? So I'll click on yes, my table has header. I'll click OK. All right, so I'll come to this place, I'll click on this, and I'll select this. You can see table 1 all, right? I'll click on enter, and then click this. That fixed the problem as well. There's another way, this is the last one, to fix that. So what you're going to do here is that first you highlight the range that you want, and we just rename this. I'm going to rename this to be TGR, and then I'll click enter, right? So that when I come here, I can just come here and type TGR, which is the selected arrays, and then you can see that fixed that perfectly for us. So we have just looked at how you can fix that kind of error when you have it on by using VLOOKUP. So another thing to do now is, in the case where you want to get your VLOOKUP on a separate sheet, that means if for instance over here I don't have this here, I just have the TB lab result here, right? And then the patient identifier, and I also have the patient identifier here, and then but I don't have, with the HIV result, but I don't have the TB lab result, and I want to bring the lab result, the TB lab result, to see those maybe that are positive and what is their lab result. So what am I going to do? But this is on a separate sheet. I'm going to just say equal to VLOOKUP. Remember, press tab. So this is the value I'm looking up, the patient identifier. And where am I going to look it up? I'm going to the sheet. This is the sheet. You can see that is showing here. And not just the sheet, I'm going to select here from this table array to this very point, and I'm going to put a comma, and then the column of interest where I want the TB lab result is 2, so I'm going to put 2 here. And then remember, we want an exact match, so I can put false here for an exact match, and I'll click enter. This brings me to what gives me the TB lab result. I click on it, it will populate the whole TB lab result. So we have considered when the whole stuff your data is on the same sheet and when your data is on a different sheet. And we have equally considered when you have errors, maybe because of relative referencing, and you make it to be an absolute reference. So now what we are going to look at is other errors that you might encounter while using VLOOKUP and how to sort it out. Before we talk about other errors as well, it will be nice to point out that making your relative reference to be an absolute reference and solving the problem that we have, and as we had initially, might not be the best form of approach to solving the problems that we have earlier seen, right? So the reason is that once you delete a row or make some alterations on this your table over here, you have to go back to that very formula and begin to change insert the dollar signs, to make it an absolute reference. Okay, so please, we should take note of that. It's better you just simply highlight everything when you are selecting your table row this way, without just necessarily coming to have an end to it, right? Okay, so over here I'm going to say VLOOKUP. Let us look at other forms of errors that you have. So let's just make use of this. The functions argument here, the lookup value is A2 and the table array is this. You can see the way I did it. This is the best way to go about it. Alright, and then you can see there's no number in between. You just start from column G to column I. There's nothing like column G2 to I40 something. No, it doesn't go that way. Alright, so over here the column index number will be 2 because this is the one we're interested in, and of course we're going to use an exact match. In this case we are typing in the range lookup to be false, so I'll click OK. So you observe that over here we have the value not to be available. The reason is that while I was entering this, I intentionally gave space after typing the last digit, and so you can fix this by just simply closing the space, and you can see that it is fixed. But what happens in the case where you have a whole lot of this in your work? Let's say you have, in the course of making the entries, there was some spaces. So the best thing to do here is to just introduce a trim function here, okay, because of this kind of error, to the lookup value. Just introduce it to the first one, and then I will click on enter, and then when you go down this way, you can see that that is fixed, right? So even though there is space here, it's able to trim the space and still return the appropriate value. So that is the error that you might experience as a result of having space after typing, right? Okay, so the next error that you are most likely going to have is when you have let's say a patient identifier that was not tested for HIV, and you are trying to look up the HIV result here, for instance, here. So when you come over here to tell you result not available, right? So we can equally show this by maybe just introducing if NA, the if NA function. I'll just say okay, comma here, I'll just put what if it is not available. What do I say? Result not found. Close this. Okay, so we have to correct something here. Sorry, close it in a quote. Yeah, that's brilliant. So result not found. Okay, so you can also use if error, so you can also use the same thing, if error, you see, result not what found, or you can say not tested, right? So you can say not tested, you see. So I can do that here. Let me just show you what I mean here. Let's copy the same let's do the same thing in the first one. If error, I will say here, what do you have here? You say comma, say results not found. Okay, you close this. So let me just do that across board, right? Result not found. So if you come over here now and let's say 001, let's just try and change one of these. This is 003 19 or 16. Okay, 07. Let me change this to 88. You see, it will show you result not found, right? Okay, so that's one of the errors that you can have. All right, that's that of way of handling error. It could be as a result of the very thing you want to look up is not found here, right? Or is not in this very place, and vice versa. Okay, so the next thing to look up is, let's look at not when you have it not to be an exact match, right? Let me say I have ages here, and then I have category of age, right? So that you have 0, and anything that's from 0 to 4 is under 5, and from 5 to 14, and you have it that way. This is the age category. Please, if you want to really know more, there is a video. I will leave the description below, the link to it, so that you can click on it and watch about how to use VLOOKUP to create age group using Excel. All right, so over here now, so what you are going to do here, let's do equal to VLOOKUP. Okay, so the value that you want here is you want the value you want to look up. What are you going to look up? Age. And in which of the table am I looking it up from? This very table, sorry, this very table range. That's where I'm looking it up from, right? And I'm going to click this, and then the column index should be what? 2. I'm looking for the age category, and then if I leave it this way, it will give me just a default value here. So in this case, let me just put 1 here. 1 is for an approximate match. It gives me the value here, right? Can you see that? So but if I put this here to be 0, this is an exact match, you will see that you are going to have an error. So you can have an error, especially error of this form, because maybe what you are looking for here is not exactly what is here. So like we have 50 here, I don't have 50 here. So it is better for me to use an approximate match. In this case, this is a case where approximate match will be suitable. And if I do that, you can see that the age 50 actually found is actually between the age of what, 45 to 54, the category, right? So this is a good scenario where you can use an approximate match. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any question, you leave your questions in the comment, and if you really enjoyed this video, please like the video. If you have not subscribed, for you to get more videos, please subscribe, and then equally share this video with your friends and colleagues, so that they will get to know much more about this video, about what you have learned as well. Thank you.
Yeah.